Howdy everyone, Poacher here with the Age of Magic video, and in today's video we finally get to look at the reworks coming to the game for Denaya. Some little changes to Bellara, and when I say little, they're kind of cool. And the two new Brotherhoods that are coming to the game, the Brotherhood of Mercenaries, the Brotherhood of Forest Shamans, and they all revolve around Denaya pretty much. She is the cornerstone, the figurehead, the whatever you want to call her, she is it. And hopefully this brings some change to the game, because we are sick of seeing golden is like looking into the sun and it is blinding us, and we just want a bit of change, a bit of flavor. We want a different noodle flavor in the game, and I think Barbarians is the way to go. So what has changed with Denaya? First of all, they have removed her passive and added a leadership ability, and she has become the Troran of not just the Barbarians, but the two new Brotherhoods brought into the game. Pretty cool stuff. Everything else about it, though, oh no, get out! We don't want to see you. You see, even in the video, they have to try and sneak in somehow. What have they changed about it? Basic is the same. Special 1, Special 2, Special 3, all the same. It's just her leadership that has changed. Well, she's gained the leadership. There's a wall of text here. We'll go through it. It makes sense once you go through it. Okay, so first of all, base stats of all barbarians in the party increased by 20%. Pretty simple, easy to understand. Good. Each time an ally from the Brotherhood of Mercenaries is hit, he goes into rage and increases the damage he does by 10%, and also decreases the target's initiative by 24% when he hits them. So, when an ally is hit from the Brotherhood of Mercenaries, not barbarians, Brotherhood of Mercenaries, they receive a rage buff. Increases damage when they hit. I know the buff stacks, so I'm assuming the damage increases more. I'm not sure how it works with decreasing initiative. I'm sure it stacks as well, but I'm not sure. So how do you combat this? I feel like you want to run a team that focuses heavily on single target damage. That would be the best way to combat this. That way you're not using your AoE abilities and forcing mercenaries to gain these stacks unnecessarily. Could be a very big pain in the ass. So what are we up to? Okay, the ally's rage increases every time the target dodges, so another way to get a rage stack, and decreases when the ally is healed. So it balances out a little bit. Obviously, healing is important in battles. Every time they're healed, they're going to lose a stat. Pretty fair, I think. Allies in rage cannot miss when they attack, but lose the ability to dodge. So that's pretty interesting. They can't miss their attacks, but they also can't dodge. And there's already one character that's sticking out in this, and that is Swamp Killer. Swamp Killer without the ability to dodge, miss her attacks, pretty good. But they take away her ability to dodge, so she becomes a little bit of a glass cannon. Shouldn't be too hard to take her out, but at the same time, she's probably going to be dealing a lot of damage. So that's the cannot when they dodge. Yeah. The speed of all allies from the Brotherhood of Forest Shamans increases by 26%. When an ally from the Brotherhood of Forest Shamans uses a special ability, then all allies from the Brotherhood of Mercenaries gets a 27% bonus to their initiative and reduces their special ability timer by 1 turn. So, the characters from the Brotherhood of Mercenaries are acting as like they're just a adrenaline syringe getting pumped into anyone from the mercenaries. Use a special ability, a mercenary gets a speed boost, an initiative boost, and gets their ability timers reduced by 1, which could be pretty strong, especially with someone like Swamp Killer. Imagine her just going mental with speed boosts. She's already the fastest character in the game. Speed boosts, her cooldowns are getting reduced as well. That's going to work crazy with her first special, which double strikes and puts the target to sleep, puts the rogue mark, triggers the rogue mark, puts the target to sleep. So crazy stuff. Is Swamp Killer a mercenary though? She is. We'll find out soon. So that is Denaya. She's got a ridiculous leadership ability now. I love it. I love that she's not only affecting barbarians, so people aren't just going to have to run barbarian teams. It looks like they can run a multi-faction team. Characters from the Brotherhood of Mercenaries and Forest Shamans. So pretty cool stuff. Let's head over, look at Bellara, and then let's look at the Brotherhoods and speculate on what teams you could possibly run with Denaya and how they would work. Next up, we have Bellara, arguably one of the not the worst character in the game. I mean, some of her abilities are pretty cool. Bypass tanks, put a character to sleep for 2 turns, but I mean, she has no damage. She's yeah. I mean, she's not great. But what have they done to her? How have they made her a ridiculously powerful character? Bellara, Barbarian, caster Forest, Shaman. So she is affected by Denaya. And to be honest, I feel like anyone that's going to run a Denaya team, they're going to run a Bellara from now on because she's become a bit of a unit. Now, as you can see, her stats not super great, 1.5 million health. But to be honest, I would be happy if they even lowered her health with what she can do. She doesn't look any different, but we'll go over her abilities. The added effect they've given her is the same for both of her special abilities. So when you read it the first time, you're going to be like, oh, okay. So we've got her basic attack. Basic attack Swamp Ray. Literally does exactly the same as it did before. Basic attack with a Swamp Ray. Nothing special. Again, weaken this if you have to because she's a pretty big unit. Let's move on to her first special ability, Swamp Curse. Slows down the target by 30% and reduces their base stats by 28% for 3 turns, and also removes provocation from the target. If the target is already affected by any other effects, the stat decrease is doubled. Now here comes the crazy part. If Denaya is in the party, if Denaya is the party leader, and the target has a buff, then Bellara will remove all buffs from the target, block new ones from being cast on them, and block using special abilities for 2 turns. So, remove taunts, decreases stats, can double decrease stats, reduces speed, removes buffs, and blocks new buffs from being placed on the target, and blocks special abilities for 2 turns. And they've also added this to her Horror of the Forest ability. Makes the selected target enemy skip the next 2 turns and decreases their dodge chance by 40% for 2 turns. If Denaya is the party leader and the target has a buff, exactly the same thing. Removes buffs, blocks buffs, and then blocks special abilities for 2 turns. It's not so effective on this ability because you're putting the target to sleep for 2 turns anyway. However, you're blocking the target from receiving new buffs as well. So it's still pretty strong. The target's being put to sleep, but they're not receiving any dots. They can't be hots. Sorry, they can't be healed through hots. They have to be healed straight up. And you can't apply any buffs to them, so you can't protect them. You can't add invulnerabilities to them. She is pretty powerful now. Mix her with Denaya. Actually, two characters already for a team, Denaya and Bellara. I mean, you don't have to run Bellara, but I mean, why wouldn't you? It's pretty powerful, especially with the overpoweredness of Magnus. You can remove his taunt, and you can block him from receiving buffs for 2 turns. So that passive of his isn't going to be working anytime soon. So yeah, she's essentially a Magnus counter. And you know what? I don't even care. I'm not even going to say it's bad because Magnus is a free character. Bellara was out before him. I mean, everyone's going to have a different opinion on this. Magnus needs to be shut down some way. He's just a stupid tank. So Bellara is going to be a Magnus counter. How do you counter Bellara though? You can't target her. That's the thing. She's untargetable. You can target her through AoEs, so maybe a rock, possibly. But then you're running a character that has double AoE abilities, and Denaya with mercenaries is going to get those anger buffs stacked up. You're better off probably just blasting through. You see, Bellara still doesn't do a lot of damage. She's not a massive damage dealer. She's essentially not even a caster anymore either. What I would class her is a pure support unit. Support, that's all she is. I really feel like they should add a support class to the game. Add caster and support. Bellara is the definition of a support unit. Rock is the definition of a caster. So I feel like you'd run a single target team if you wanted to burn down targets until you can get to Bellara. I mean, that's the lack. You want to get rid of the mercenaries. You'd aim mercenaries first, get rid of them, unless they're running a lucky. But we'll see in a second. So that's Bellara. We'll head over, look at the new Brotherhoods. What characters you could possibly run with these two teams, and yeah, we'll go over some stuff then. So the first Brotherhood is the Brotherhood of Mercenaries, which Denaya is a mercenary herself, so she can benefit from the anger buff. We have Pigboy, Ignore, Swamp Killer. You knew she was going to be in there. Swamp Killer, so she is going to be a weapon. Jag, Atiles, Aratar, Arrogant Shadow, Arrogant Axe Thrower, and Rogar is apparently a mercenary. Interesting. I guess maybe, I don't know what the story is with the Dragonkin. Maybe they went from these noble, holy people to just mercenaries. But yeah, interesting characters here. Notable ones that stand out: Arrogant Shadow, Swamp Killer. Obviously the two big ones. I can't really think of any character that might... Ignore suffers from low damage. He's a very niche character. His abilities work better when characters are at full health. And apart from that, why would you run an Ignore over a Swamp Killer? Honestly, why? It makes no sense. Unless I'm missing something about Ignore. I can't remember off the top of my head because I don't really use him for any situation at all, ever. So there's that. Atiles, maybe good. He's a tank, might work well, but like I said, versing a Denaya team, you're probably going to want to run single target units. You want to burn them down without allowing the mercenaries to gain stacks. So if you're running a single target team, fighting an Atiles isn't going to be a threat to you because he works best when he's hit by an AoE ability, and then his taunt triggers. He's like a Siegfried, but he relies on the on being hit for the taunt to activate. He does have a lockdown though, which is pretty good, and some AoE damage. He might actually become pretty beasty if he can get a lot of those anger stacks. So he's pretty slow, so the chances of him getting hit more and those stacks getting higher and higher, pretty good. But again, I don't see why. It'd have to be a niche a bit. Aratar, who knows? Rogar, I can't see anyone playing Rogar. I really can't. This hasn't made him any worse, but how much better does it actually make him? When you think of the Brotherhood just amplifying these characters, Swamp Killer is the one that stands out the most. Arrogant Shadow. Aratar, maybe. You might be able to get some decent damage from Arrogant Axe Thrower, but he's just a cannon. That's all he is. He doesn't add anything. And again, that's Swamp Killer. She's a cannon as well. She just has more. What's the word I'm looking for? She just offers more to a team. A lot more to a team. Jag, pretty big damage dealer. Again, he's just a glass cannon though, not adding anything special to your team. So those are the mercenaries. So next up, we have the Forest Shamans. Now, there's obviously not a greater selection of these characters than there are the mercenaries, but they're here anyway. So you have Silvermoon, Karana, Cathbad, and Bellara. I get why Cathbad is there, but I'm kind of glad Cathbad's there. Forest Shamans, Shaman's such a specific word. I don't really relate any of these characters to Shamans except for maybe Silvermoon. Silvermoon's probably the closest you're going to get to a Shaman. Maybe Forest Casters. I don't know. But anyway, the name of the faction isn't what is that. How can we use these characters? Can any of these characters be useful? Well, straight up, we know Bellara. Bellara is... I'm just rolling over my cable, sorry. Bellara is... hands down, I don't see why you wouldn't use her with Denaya. They're the new queens of the game. Denaya and Bellara, I feel like they go together like something and something. Cathbad, pretty solid healer, except the only downside with Cathbad is he can't resurrect anyone from these factions. Oh, can you resurrect Dragon King? I think you can actually resurrect Dragon King. So maybe running Cathbad and Karana with Bellara, Denaya, and Swamp Killer. That might work quite well. You've got the Resurrect, because they're obviously going to aim a healer first, which will be your Cathbad or Karana. Both of them can resurrect each other. At the same time, your Swamp Killer's doing her thing, your Denaya's doing her thing, now the Bellara is doing her thing. Now, I've already thought about this. I don't want to go too much into teams. I do want people to kind of play around with it themselves, but the team I'm already thinking of in my head, what do I want to call it? I don't have a name for it. Adrenaline something. The idea of it would be to run 3 characters from this, the Forest Shamans, and then Swamp Killer and Denaya. Now, the reason for this is because every time someone from this team, the Forest Shamans, uses a special ability, it lowers the cooldown for Bellara, for Denaya and Swamp Killer. The idea is to just pump up Denaya and Swamp Killer, just keep going over and over again. No cooldowns whatsoever. Just cast, spam the special abilities of these heroes, and just get those cooldowns off. So every turn you have with Swamp Killer and Denaya, you have a special ability lined up. You can use it. Bang, 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 bang. Hopefully you can just glass cannon characters down. Like I said, how are you going to counter this? I would just use a single target team. But, I mean, this is going to be the fun of it again. This is going to be the fun of trying to figure out how to beat these teams if they do stand out, if they are making an appearance. It's going to be fun again. Fun to finally try and figure out how to beat teams. I'm sure Archons are still going to be able to beat them, but I'm pretty positive these are going to be able to beat the Archons as well. So there's a lot of characters here. There is. You've got, who has a, unless you're wailing hard, who has a maxed out Silvermoon? Who has a maxed out Bellara? Who has a maxed out any of these Mercs? Like, who has Pigboy maxed out? Atiles, Aratar, Jag. Who has these characters maxed out? Swamp Killer, I think, is probably one of the characters that people will have. So that's probably nice. They're going to be able to use her pretty well. She's going to shine again. Shine like she used to. I mean, if she was still the old version of herself, I honestly would be scared. Swamp Killer would be the strongest character in the game. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, I'm sure you have plenty. I'm sure I've missed a bunch of stuff that you guys have noticed. There are people out there far more aware than I am, that are going to comment below saying, hey, you didn't mention this, or I know. That's the fun of this again, though. This is the fun of having something new brought to the game that we can work with. And it's good that it's just not brand new characters. It's fun that it's going to be old characters that people have worked on to some degree. You don't have to get them. You don't have to build them up. These are characters people will probably have unlocked already, if they just have to max them. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of videos in the future. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Hit me up on Discord. I'll reply when I can. I'm normally pretty busy, but I try to reply when I can, as soon as I can. And hopefully this is a good change and you guys see it that way. The only thing I could probably see people having a little bit of an issue with is Bellara having the same effect added to both of her abilities. It would have been nice to see a bit of a change between both of them instead of having the same thing added to both of them, but it is what it is. I mean, in comparison to the Archons, whatever. Throw anything at me. I'll be a fucking happy puppy. Wherever you are in the world, until next time, please take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.